to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Friday, March 12, 2021.
Gentleman to 58th, Douglas Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the Journal be suspended, with it be approved as having been read.
Gentleman to 58th, ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? There are no objections. Lady from the 49th for an update on the calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On special calendar third reading, committee substitute for House Bill 2785 has been transferred to the House calendar.
Introduction of guests. Lady of the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our doctor of the day is Dr. John Apgar from Huntington. If you could please make him welcome. And also former member and friend Jill Upson. Please make her welcome.
Reports of standing committees.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2830 relating generally to sex trafficking. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Judiciary is House Bill 3130 relating to elimination of sunset provisions concerning towing rates. It's reported with recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Judiciary is House Bill 3129 relating to the Consumer Price Index rate increase. It's reported with recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 5 relating to claims arising out of West Virginia Consumer Credit and Protection Act. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 42, creating Zombie Property Remediation Act of 2021. They're reported with recommendation that each do pass.
Report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Judiciary is House Bill 3132 relating to motor carrier inspectors. It's reported with recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finances had under consideration House Bill 2855 relating to the Natural Resources Police Officers Retirement System, and House Bill 2896 making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Health and Human Resources, Division of Human Services. Reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finances had in consideration House Bill 2854 relating to the West Virginia Municipal Police Officer and Firefighters Retirement System, House Bill 2898 making a supplementary appropriation to the Workforce West Virginia Workforce Investment Act, House Bill 2901 making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Health and Human Resources, Division of Human Services, House Bill 2903 making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Homeland Security, West Virginia State Police, House Bill 2940 making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Education, State Board of Education, State Department of Education, and House Bill 2941 supplementary appropriation decreasing an existing item and adding a new item of appropriation to the Department of Revenue Insurance Commissioner, reporting with the recommendation that each do pass.
The report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Judiciary is House Bill 3134 creating a new criminal defense prohibiting public disclosure of restricted information. It's reported with the recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Originating in the Committee on Judiciary is House Bill 3175 relating to removing certain felonies that can prohibit vehicle salespersons from receiving a license. It's reported with recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2495 relating to the filing of asbestos and silica claims. Reports back committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
The report will be received.
Your Joint Committee on Rules enrolled bills has examined, found truly enrolled, and on March 12, 2021, presented to His Excellency the Governor for his action, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 270, providing for collection of tax by hotel marketplace facilitators, and Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 280, relating to e-commerce modernization.
The report will be received. Are there further reports of standing committees? If not, reports of select committees. Message from the executive. Message from the Senate.
The Clerk of the Senate announces the passage by the Senate of Senate Bill 437, extending contingent increase of tax rate on certain eligible acute care hospitals.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Health and Human Resources.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 494, authorizing transfer of monies from Insurance Commission Fund to Workers' Compensation Old Fund.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 496, relating to punishment for second or third degree felony.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
The Senate has passed Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 514, providing criteria for Natural Resource Commission appointment and compensation.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Are there further messages from the Senate? If not, resolutions.
House Concurrent Resolution 48, to balance the judicial workload and realign the current court system based on their caseloads.
Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the delegate console system.
Lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the delegate console system. Are there objections? There are no objections. Petitions, motions, bills introduced.
House Bill 3135, make gold and silver legal tender in West Virginia.
Lady in the 40.
Introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the delegate console system.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the delegate console system. Are there objections? There are no objections. Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 4, recognizing June 19th as Juneteenth Day.
Question before the House is the adoption of the resolution. This is a debatable question. Is there discussion on the resolution? Is there discussion on the resolution? If not, those in favor of adoption, a roll call vote's been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. The question before the House is, shall the resolution be adopted? Those in favor of adoption will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 96 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the resolution adopted. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Further unfinished business.
House Concurrent Resolution 9, urging Congress to call a convention of states to limit terms of office in the U.S. House of Representatives.
The question before the House is the adoption of the resolution. Is there a debate on the resolution? If not, those in favor of adoption of the yes, the gentleman from the 43rd, Doug Thompson, is recognized.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Is this to debate the actual resolution, or is this passage?
Either. The question is on passage of the resolution, which does reach the substance of the resolution, so both questions are debatable.
Okay. Permission to speak on the resolution?
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to urge rejection of this resolution for a few reasons right now. I know many of us have heard from our constituents of the frustration in Congress, and I completely agree. We have frustrations on both sides. People who have been in there for many, many, many years who have, in our opinion, a lot of on both sides lost touch with the constituents that they represent. However, I want to warn you guys. There are ways we can institute term limits through the amendment process. You don't have to call an Article 5 convention. The danger of an Article 5 convention is that if we call one, we can throw out the entire Constitution. Our First Amendment, freedom of speech, our Second Amendment right to bear arms, those can be thrown away depending on the makeup of the states. Now, I don't know about you, but I swore to uphold the Constitution, not to do away with the Constitution. And this is setting a very dangerous precedent. So I urge rejection of this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from the 67th, Doyle, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also urge rejection. I would echo the thoughts expressed by the gentleman from Randolph who just spoke, but also, in particular with term limits. Term limits are undemocratic. I think it is sensible to make an exception to opposition to term limits when you have an office that puts a whole lot of power in the hands of one person, like President of the United States, Governor of a state, County Sheriff, Mayor in a strong mayor system, County Executive in states that have counties with separated executive and legislative branches. But I think for any body that has multiple membership, I think term limits defeat the purpose. You're denying citizens an opportunity to vote for someone they want, maybe someone whose experience they admire and desire to have in office. So for both of those reasons, I think we should reject this. Thank you.
The gentleman at 36th, Second row, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too rise to oppose this. I see the Article 5 convention as a very dangerous political paradigm. There's only one precedent for a convention to create amendments to the Constitution, and that was in 1787. And that was when the original Constitution that we have was adopted. What is our precedent? First of all, they met in secret. That is your precedent. And they were ordered to amend the Articles of Confederation. What did they do? They didn't even look at the Articles of Confederation. It was an unworkable system, so they decided they were going to create a new Constitution. Everything that we operate today under is from a constitutional convention that was called to do something else. That's your precedent. And your precedent is that a convention will be secret. Secret. That's so contrary to everything about who we are, what kind of constitution we live with. Is there any limit to what revisions can be made? Is it only term limits? If it was just term limits, people should get something passed through Congress on that and propose it to the states. If that's all that it is, we've seen these conventions, many of the folks who are new this year, we see these convention requests. Originally, it was on to balance the budget. We've got term limits, and there are other things. And all of these are very limited, but there's no limit on the convention itself. This is the most dangerous political move in the country. Very dangerous. And it doesn't have to be a constitution that ends up being approved. It ends up challenging and questioning every single facet of our constitutional government. It creates a body, an official body, that can sweep away any of the Bill of Rights, change any of the checks and balances that we survive with, candidly. We have to have those checks and balances. I can think of nothing that would be as likely to set aside the Second Amendment protections than a constitutional convention. And all the other Bill of Rights would be in jeopardy. This is a very dangerous road. It's something that we should not go down. I urge the members to vote against any of the conventions. We've had 200 and some years of constitutional government, and with that constitutional government, we have amended the Constitution almost 30 times. And we've done it in a way that's controlled and understood and safe without changing the political system that we have. I urge the members to vote against this resolution.
Is there further debate on the resolution? If not, the question before the House is the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor, a roll call vote has been demanded. Is the demand sustained? Demand is sustained. Those in favor of adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 76 ayes, 20 nays, and 4 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the resolution adopted. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Further resolutions?
House Concurrent Resolution 35, requesting the Department of Health and Human Resources to continuously evaluate the child welfare system.
Question on the adoption of the resolution. Is there debate on the resolution? If not, those in favor of adoption, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares the resolution adopted. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Further resolutions?
House Resolution 14, resolution on West Virginia's energy future.
Question on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion on the resolution? If not, those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes have it. Chair declares the resolution adopted. Further resolutions? If not, bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2688, allow county political parties to have building funds in a similar manner that state parties are allowed.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? The gentleman from the 13th, Douglas Higginbotham, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill seeks to permit county executive committees the same ability as the state executive committee to raise funds for owning and maintaining a building. This bill alters the current code to add county executive committees to those who can raise and accumulate funds for the ownership and operation of a political party headquarters. It provides for reporting of the funds raised and limits their use. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 95 ayes, 2 nays, and 3 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2688, allow county political parties to have building funds in a similar manner that state parties are allowed.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2705, authorizing the Department of Health and Human Resources to promulgate a legislative rule relating to food establishments.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman 29th to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to allow private clubs, brew pubs, and micro distilleries to establish dog-friendly areas within their establishments under certain conditions. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 96 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2705, authorizing the Department of Health and Human Resources to promulgate a legislative rule relating to food establishments.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2797, declaring certain claims to be moral obligations of the state.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman the 10th will explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. This bill directs the payment of moral obligations of state agencies for claims against the state which, but for the constitutional immunity of the state from suits or other legal restrictions, can be maintained in regular courts of this state. The Legislative Claims Commission has determined that the state should, in equity and good conscience, discharge and pay these claims. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Lady from the 51st, Douglas Fleshauer is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, did the House take out any of the recommended items?
No, ma'am. Every item that the Claims Court, the Claims Commission, I'm from the old schools of the court.
Okay.
But yeah, everything that was there that we put in the bill.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
you.
Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 96 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2797, declaring certain claims to be moral obligations of the state.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2834, adding the curator of the West Virginia Division of Arts, Culture, and History as an ex officio voting member of the commission.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman the 29th will explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of House Bill 2834 is to add the curator of the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History as an ex officio voting member of the Commission on the Arts. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, the question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 93 ayes, 4 nays, and 3 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2834, adding the curator of the West Virginia Division of Arts, Culture, and History as an ex officio voting member of the commission.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Steele moves to amend the title.
Question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2877, expand direct health care agreements beyond primary care to include more medical care services.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman the 28th will explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2877 expands legislation enacted in 2017 concerning direct care arrangements. The direct care model gives health care practitioners an alternative to fee-for-service insurance billing, typically by charging patients a monthly, quarterly, or annual fee. This fee covers most services, including clinical and laboratory services, consultative services, care coordination, and comprehensive care management. The bill expands the legislation by allowing a physical therapist to participate in direct care arrangements and by removing the word primary throughout. By removing that word, the legislation would permit a broader array of services to be provided. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge its passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent or not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2877, expand direct health care agreements beyond primary care to include more medical care services.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. At this time, is there objection to further consideration of committee substitute for House Bill 2797 for purposes of an effective date? There is no objection. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move committee substitute for House Bill 2797 effective from passage.
This is the Claims Commission bill that the House adopted or the House passed moments ago. The question before the House is, shall committee substitute for House Bill 2797 be made effective from passage? Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 97 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 members absent or not voting. 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2891, creating a minimum statutory standards for law enforcement officers.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman, the 6th, Delegate Kelly, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. The purpose of this bill is to create minimum standards for law enforcement officers, to provide for the disqualification for entry into basic law enforcement academy or from certification in certain instances, to provide the direct supervision of officers who are not certified, and to provide for the maintenance and transfer of certain records, and to provide for a limitation on the disclosure of those records. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge adoption.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 89 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2891, creating minimum statutory standards for law enforcement officers.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2969 to clarify the procedures for the sale and operation of a municipally owned toll bridge by a private toll transportation facility.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman, the 10th, Delegate Conley, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to permit a municipally owned toll bridge to be sold to a private company to manage or maintain the bridge. This bill permits a private company to charge a toll to passengers to use the bridge, and the toll is exempt from regulations by the Public Service Commission. This is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 91 ayes, 7 nays, and 2 members absent or not voting. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2969 to clarify the procedures for the sale and operation of a municipally owned toll bridge by a private toll transportation facility.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Steele moves to amend the title.
The question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2972, allowing a person to manufacture a stated amount of alcoholic liquor for personal consumption.
Chair has not recognized a member to explain House Bill 2969 yet, so at this time, the Chair will recognize the lady from the 49th for a motion on committee substitute for House Bill 2969.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 2969 effective from passage.
The lady's motion is that House Bill 2969 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Gentleman the 10th, Doug Conley. The clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 96 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 members absent or not voting. 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. The Chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Again, now on committee substitute for House Bill 2972. Is there objection to having that bill explained in lieu of having it read? There's no objection. The gentleman of 35th, Dr. Capito, to explain the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This bill is the same bill that came to us last year and passed this House 75-19. Some in the past may refer to it as Scott's Law. This bill alters the current code to permit a person at least 21 years of age to manufacture alcohol liquor for personal or family use. The aggregate amount of alcoholic liquor manufactured per household may not exceed 100 gallons per calendar year if there are 2 or more persons over the age of 21 years, or 50 gallons per calendar year if there is only 1 person over the age of 21 years in the household. Any alcoholic liquor manufactured under this section may not be sold or offered for sale. I would add that this does not affect the federal prohibitions on such manufacture, and although it's not necessary, I suppose we should do a symbolic roll call for this one, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 78 ayes, 19 nays, and 3 members absent or not voting. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the Chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2972, allowing a person to manufacture a stated amount of alcoholic liquor for personal consumption.
For what purpose does the gentleman of the 29th seek recognition?
I'd move the bill be effective from passage, Mr. Speaker.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The gentleman from the 29th, Doug Steele, moves that the bill be made effective from passage. The question is on the gentleman's motion. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 80 ayes, 18 nays, and 2 members absent or not voting. 2/3 of members having voted in the affirmative, the Chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there further bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading.
House Bill 2379, make criminal invasion of privacy a felony.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2493, providing valuation limitations for coal property taxation and clarifying the penalties for non-filers.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2776, creating the Air Ambulance Patient Protection Act.
Are there amendments?
Committee on Judiciary moves to amend the bill. This is H. Jude AM number 1.
Are there objections to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? There are no objections. The gentleman of 35th, Doug Capito, to explain the amendment.
Stand by one moment. Yes, I will. Yes, Mr. Speaker. This bill came to the Committee on the Judiciary from the House Health Committee. The Health Committee sent the Committee on the Judiciary a a strike and insert, which was we at that time thought was adopted into a committee substitute, but procedurally we had to take it up as our own amendment. That's why the bill has been amended, I believe, and so I urge passage.
The question before the House then is the adoption of the amendment. Are there members who wish to speak to the amendment? The gentleman of the 10th, Delegate Chris, is recognized.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. According to the console system, we aren't showing any floor amendments.
Chair is advised by the clerk that if members will consult the committee amendment tab on the delegate console system, the committee amendment is currently available under that link. The question again before the House is the adoption of the amendment. Chair will pause for a moment to make sure that all members can access the amendment. Okay, at this time, are there further inquiries or members who wish to be recognized on the primary amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the primary amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it. Chair declares the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Are there further bills on second reading?
House Bill 2888 relating to when contentions can be received based on forensic scientific evidence that was not available at time of conviction.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading?
Senate Bill 404 modifying well work permits issued by DEP Office of Oil and Gas.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2400 authorizing the Division of Highways to promulgate a legislative rule relating to traffic and safety rules.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2634 coverage for the treatment of chronic pain.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2794 to extend the Neighborhood Investment Program Act to July 1, 2026 and to increase the allowable tax credit from $3 million to $5 million.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2817 Donated Drug Repository Program.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 3078 relating to powers and duties of the Parole Board.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 3081 updating the West Virginia Business Corporations Act.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 3128 relating to carrier fees on 911 fee revenues.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 3131 relating to correcting internal code references and citations.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 3133 relating to motor carrier rates.
The bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading? If not, does the clerk have additional committee reports?
Your Committee on Rules has had in consideration House Concurrent Resolution 8, United States Army Sergeant First Class Guy Hively Memorial Bridge. House Concurrent Resolution 13, Tech 5, United States Army Donald Tiny Lucas Memorial Bridge. House Concurrent Resolution 16, Private First Class Franklin D. Fraser Memorial Road. House Concurrent Resolution 32 to name Gatewood Road in Fayette County as the Senator Shirley Love Memorial Road, and Senate Concurrent Resolution 15 extending certain leases between the United States Army Corps of Engineers and Nicholas County Airport Authority. The each reported with recommendation that they be adopted.
The report will be received. Are there further committee reports? If not, leaves of absence. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues, Delegate Ellington and Hardy.
Are there objections to leaves being granted? There are no objections. Leaves of absences shall be granted. Introduction of guests. Miscellaneous business. Gentleman the 19th, Delegate Griffith, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a funeral being conducted in my hometown right now for an individual I dearly loved, but I ask you all to consider something at this moment. When I was a young boy, my mother gave me a clock radio. I thought it was so I could enjoy music. She wanted to teach me to get myself up. Well, I noticed with that clock radio that I could pick up distant radio stations and began to listen to KMOX in St. Louis during Stan Musial's last year in the big leagues when he was 42 years old. And I came down to breakfast one morning telling my mom how Stan Musial, that ancient man, was leading the league in hitting and that he was my hero. Well, my mother gave me a great lesson at that moment. She said, well, he's a great baseball player and he seems like a fine man, but you need to look closer to home for your heroes. You have coaches, teachers, Sunday school teachers, neighbors, aunts, uncles. They're the real heroes of your life. And she made me start writing in a little spiral notebook the names of people that were my true heroes. Jim McAllister is one of those people whose family is now mourning and celebrating his life. He was a coach. He was a member of our city council. He was my neighbor. He was a friend and a great person. And he reminds me of the end of the musical play Camelot. For those of you who have seen it, at the end of the movie, King Arthur is about to fight the last battle of his life. And a young boy approaches him wanting to join the fight. And he asks him why. And he says because he admires the values of being a knight of the Round Table. Arthur tells that young boy to go home, to grow up, and to grow old, and to keep those values in his heart. As he's standing there, another character in the play asks him, who was that, Arthur? And his reply is, one of what we all are, just a drop in the great blue motion of the sunlit sea. But some of those drops do sparkle. Some of them sparkle. Jim McAllister in my community was one of those people. You all don't know him. However, you know people in your lives that were a small drop, but a tremendous sparkle to add meaning and guidance in your life. And I ask now that we all rise and have a moment of silence, not just to remember Jim, but to remember all the people that inspired us to be here. You all are my heroes. You have chosen to serve our state, and I ask that we remember how dearly it is for us to do what we were taught and to be good citizens and to serve the state of West Virginia the way Jim McAllister did. Thank you for joining me.
The House will observe a brief moment of silence. Members and guests may be seated. Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, the House adjourn until 11 a.m. Tuesday, March 16th.
Are there announcements? Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Rules will meet at 10:45 tomorrow morning in House Education.
Gentleman the 10th. I got Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet today, March 15th at 4 p.m. in the House chamber. The agenda is posted. Thank you.
Gentleman the 32nd. Doug Fast.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary will meet today, 2 p.m. in the Judiciary Committee Room, and the amended agenda has been posted.
Gentleman the 35th, Doug Capito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Announcement for a virtual public hearing on House Bill 2354 will be held over Microsoft Teams on Wednesday, March 18, 2021, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Anyone wishing to register to speak during the public hearing may call the committee room line at 304-340-3252 between the hours of 1 and 2 p.m. Requests to speak during the hearing will not be recognized after 2 p.m. So again, that's 1 to 2 p.m. tomorrow on Tuesday. We will request name, email address, the entity that is represented, and whether you support or oppose the legislation, and the phone number. The link for the meeting will be posted on the House Committee on the Judiciary Legislative website prior to 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Thank you.
Delegate, was that Wednesday, March 17th or Thursday, March 18th?
Yes. Good catch, Mr. Speaker. We're going to shoot the gap there. It's March 17th, which is Wednesday. So.
Thank you. Gentleman the 13th, Delegate Higginbotham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Education will be meeting tomorrow, March 16th at 1 p.m. in the House chamber. The agenda will be posted. In addition, Mr. Speaker, yesterday was Pi Day. It was 3.14, March 14th. So to celebrate, we've ordered pizza pies for the entire Education Committee and staff. It's upstairs in the Education Committee room. And of course, since today is the Ides of March, it's Little Caesars. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
They just keep coming. The gentleman to 15th, Douglas Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet today at 1 p.m. in the House Government Organization Committee room, and the agenda is posted. We will also meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the House Government Organization Committee room, and the agenda will be posted. Also, for all members, lunch will be provided by the Hospitality Association in the Government Organization Committee room, so stop by and grab your lunch.
The gentleman to 17th, Dr. Rohrbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Government Organization Committee room, and the Republican members will caucus in the Chairman's office at 8:45. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman to the 10th, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Energy and Manufacturing will meet tomorrow, Tuesday morning, March the 16th at 9 a.m. in House Chamber. The agenda will be posted. Thank you.
Lady in the 52nd, Dr. SYPOLT.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you. Oh. Didn't quite sound right there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask unanimous consent that those remarks made from the delegate from Wayne County, I believe, the 19th, be put in the those remarks be put in the appendix of the journal.
Are there objections? There are no objections. Lady in the 38th, Dr. Graves is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind everyone that Republicans will caucus here in the chamber tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Lady in the 41st, Dr. Tully.
Since my colleague from Putnam County already beat me to the Ides of March joke, friends, delegates, and fellow West Virginians, lend me your ears. Your PEIA subcommittee of the Committee on Health will meet Wednesday, March 17th at 4 p.m. in the House Judiciary Committee room. Thank you.
The gentleman to 13th, Dr. PINSON.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow, March 16th at 8 a.m., our committee with the Faith First Caucus will meet. The Faith First Caucus will meet tomorrow, March 16th at 8 a.m. That'll be in room 252. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman to 37th, Dr. Pushkin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Democratic members of the Committee on Health and Human Resources will caucus tomorrow morning at 8:30 in my office.
Gentleman to 3rd, Dr. Fluharty is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join with my colleague from the 3rd and announce that William Park High School speech team has won yet again a state title 41 years in a row, which is incredible. So I wanted to give a shout out, Northern Panhandle proud, and I want to join my colleague in making that known and announce it to everybody. And good luck beating us. You just can't 41 years straight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there other announcements? If not, the question is on the motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We are adjourned at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
The Senate will come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Those in the gallery and those on the floor will please rise as we led in prayer by Bishop Joe Thomas of the Non-Denominational Fellowship Pentecostal Ministries in Charleston, West Virginia. Please remain standing after the prayer as the junior senator from the 8th leads us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Bishop Thomas.
Father God, we come just to say thank you. Father, we first ask you to search and research our hearts. When you find the things that's not pleasing, please remove it and forgive us for every sin. Father, we thank you for these senators. We thank you for every doorkeeper. We thank you for the president, the Senate clerk, the assistant, to every staff member. Father, we even thank you for the pastors and the doctors that you have placed in our presence. and given them wisdom and knowledge and understanding of what you are doing for us. Then, Father, we thank you for divine healing, how you have blessed some of our senators and some of our doorkeepers. Build us up where we've been torn down. Strengthen us where we're weak. And then, Father, we thank you for your name, Jesus. We know that there's healing in your name. There's deliverance in your name. There's joy in your name. Father, we want to thank you. All these prayers and favors we ask in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Thomas. Junior Senator from the 6th.
Please join me in recognizing our home in the greatest land in the history of the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad you represent. My apologies, Senator. Reading of the journal.
West Virginia Legislature Senate Journal, March 12, 2021. The Senate met at 11:02 a.m. Senator Blair, Mr. President, in the chair.
The senior senator from the 6th requests unanimous consent of further reading the journal be dispensed with and the journal be approved. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Further reading the journal is dispensed with and the journal is approved. Introduction of guest. Senior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senate, it is your pleasure of mine to introduce our docket today. In the rear of the chamber, we have with us Dr. John Apgar from Huntington, West Virginia. If he wouldn't mind standing, let the Senate give him a warm welcome.
Are there further introductions? Communications from the House.
The Clerk of the House announced the House amended and passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 295 relating generally to economic development loans and loan insurance issued by state.
The message will be received. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate concur in the House amendments to Senate Bill 295.
The senior senator from the 17th moves that the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 295. Is there discussion? Senior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 295 reestablishes the Broadband Loan Insurance Program. It authorizes the Board of Treasury Investments, or BTI, to loan up to $80 million to the Economic Development Authority for the express purpose of insuring loans to eligible broadband providers made by third-party financial institutions. The program limits to $20 million the amount that the Economic Development Authority may insure for a single broadband provider in a single year. The bill provides significant transparency and oversight of the program. The legislative auditor will biannually audit EDA's accounting practices and controls and compliance with the program's requirements. The Economic Development Authority must also post and maintain information about all loans insured through the program on its website and report regularly to the governor, the BTI, and the Joint Committee on Government and Finance. BTI also has the right to copy and inspect all records related to the program. The House amendment makes non-substantive technical cleanup and clarifying changes. The changes do not alter the purpose, scope, or overall effect of the bill. None of the stakeholders object to the amendment. Therefore, I urge passage.
Is there further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is that the Senate concur in the House amendments to Senate Bill 295. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the motion adopted. The question now is on passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the Clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting, more than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill passed. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage. I request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
The Senior Senator from the 17th moves the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? The chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, and not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
The Clerk of the House announced the passage by that body of Committee Substitute for House Bill 2382, authorizing the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate a legislative rule relating to ambient air quality standards.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2682, relating to the issuance of license suspensions to insurance producers and insurance adjusters who have failed to meet continuing education requirements.
The message will be received. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and committee reference be dispensed with.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2758, requiring the Insurance Commissioner to regulate professional bondsmen.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2763, creating West Virginia Cyber Incident Reporting.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government and Organization.
House Bill 2788, expiring funds to the unappropriated surplus balance from State Excess Lottery Revenue Fund.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2789, supplementing and amending the appropriations to Public Defender Services.
The message will be received and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2802, supplementing and amending the appropriations of public monies out of the Treasury from the balance of monies remaining as an unappropriated surplus balance in the State Fund General Revenue to the Department of Homeland Security, Division of Emergency Management.
The bill will be received and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2803, supplementing and amending the appropriations of public monies out of the Treasury from the balance of monies remaining as an unappropriated surplus balance in the State Fund General Revenue to the Department of Commerce, Division of Forestry.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
House Bill 2804, expiring funds to the unappropriated surplus balance in the State Fund General Revenue for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee Substitute for House Bill 2916, creating the Semi-Quincentennial Commission for the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
House Bill 2932, protections for charitable organizations.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Communications from the Executive.
There are none.
Reports from standing committees.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 562 relating to juvenile competency proceedings, and reports back Committee Substitute for same, and Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 566 relating to interpretations of school laws, and reports back Committee Substitute for same, with the recommendation that the two Committee Substitutes do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed Committee Substitute for House Bill 2372, allow pre-candidacy papers to be filed the day after the general election, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
The report will be received. Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill 641 through Senate Bill 644 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
Senior Senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill 641 through Senate Bill 644 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? The chair hears none. So ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 26 by Senator Smith naming the U.S. Army Tech 5 William Bill Thurman King Memorial Bridge.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over 1 day. Motions. Petitions.
There are none.
Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 25 naming the McClintock Family Bridge.
The resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 346, authorizing DMV use electronic means when providing notice for licensees and vehicle owners. Third reading of the bill.
The question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill does what we've done with a lot of other notifications, is that they may now notify the person by electronic means rather than sending certified mail. I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 472, updating criteria for regulating certain occupations and professions. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 472 codifies the standards of the Performance Evaluation and Research Division, known as PERD, of the Legislative Auditor's Office evaluate whether a regulation is needed when a proposal to regulate a currently unregulated occupation or profession is made. The bill provides that PERD will use a reputable presumption that the consumers are sufficiently protected by market competition and private remedies and that licensing is not needed. That presumption may be negated, however, by finding that consumers will be significantly harmed without regulation. PERD's evaluation must include an economic analysis of the proposed regulation. The bill adds a sunset review provision for professions and occupations currently regulated under Chapter 30. PERD will annually review existing licensing as selected by the chairs of the Joint Standing Government Organization Committee, completing its review of all licenses within 8 years. PERD may recommend that the licensing remain as it is, be converted to a less restrictive alternative, or repealed. This provision intended to harmonize with PERD's review of regulatory boards under the Performance Review Act, Chapter 4, Article 10, Section 1. I'll entertain questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent and not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 523, correcting improper code references. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 523 simply corrects incorrect cross-references to existing code sections in 3 sections of code pertaining to the Public Service Commission. I'll take questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
The question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 529, correcting improper citation relating to DMV registration. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill just simply corrects a mistake that was made in the citation in last year's bill. I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent and not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2011, eliminating anytime requirements for part-time personnel to work during a working year. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 2011 codifies Executive Order 54-20, which removed the 1,000-hour cap on the exemption from classified service for temporary employees. At the request of the DNR, it also adds an exemption for temporary employees in state parks, forests, and recreational areas. I'll take question. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has a title amendment.
Committee on Government Organization moved to amend the title of the bill.
The question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
The Senior Senator moves that the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there an objection? The chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent and not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2263, update the regulation of pharmacy benefit managers.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill lie over 1 day while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 303, creating Local Government Labor and Consumer Marketing Regulatory Limitation Act.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill lie over 1 day while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 318, relating generally to public notice of unclaimed property held by State Treasurer. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. Senator Clements moved to amend the bill on page 2, section 9, line 25 by striking out the word once and inserting in lieu thereof the word twice.
Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment offered by the senator from Wetzel. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 500, prohibiting intimidation and retaliation against public officers and employees, jurors, and witnesses. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 518, relating to grounds for administrative dissolution of certain companies, corporations, and partnerships. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2006, relating to the West Virginia Contractor Licensing Act. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Government Organization moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to making the Contractor Licensing Board an independent board in Chapter 30 of the Code, House Bill 2006 raises the threshold value of work that requires a contractor's license from a flat $2,500 to $10,000 for residential work and $50,000 for commercial work. The Strike and Insert Amendment lowers those values to $5,000 for residential work and $25,000 for commercial work. The amendment also adds the Contractor Licensing Board to the Regulatory Board review schedule by inserting the provisions of Chapter 4, Article 10, Section 10 to the bill. I'll take questions, otherwise I urge adoption of the amendment.
The clerk has an amendment to the amendment.
Senator Maynard moved to amend the Government Organization Committee amendment on page 44, section 20, line 2, after the words require any by inserting the words additional occupational.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Mr. President, I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 2006 continues the existing Contractor Licensing Board, but moves it from within the Division of Labor and establishes it as an independent board in Chapter 30 of the Code. This amendment was requested by the Municipal League. It clarifies that the provision of the bill stating that local ordinances may not require contractors to obtain other licenses applies only to occupational licenses. I urge adoption of the amendment.
Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment to the amendment offered by the Senior Senator from the 6th. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment to the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the amendment?
Yes, sir. Senator Jeffries moved to amend the Government Organization Committee amendment on page 26, section 3.
Senior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a simple amendment. The only thing we're doing is on page 26, where it's on subsection 6, it says a person who performs landscaping or painting services for commercial or residential customers. We're going to strike out the word painting services and add a subsection 7 that says a person who performs painting services for residential customers. Mr. President, what this amendment does is just it clarifies that residential painting contractors do not need a license, and commercial contractors will be under the specialty contractor and does require a license. Thank you.
Is there discussion? Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The effect of the amendment is to include commercial painters within the definition of contractor, but there is no reason to do so. Unlike plumbers or electricians, there is no separate trade license for painters. Painters, both commercial and residential, are considered specialty contractors, which means that they take only the West Virginia business and law examination. So having a painter's contractor's license does not mean that the individual or company has any demonstrated or tested expertise in painting. They may have, they may not. Also, there is no separate experience requirement to obtain a specialty contractor license for a painter. To the extent the desire to include commercial painters as contractors stem from safety concerns, any such jobs would be subject to OSHA regulations and enforcement, such as 29 CFR 1915.35, which relates specifically to painting, and 29 CFR 1926.105, which prescribes fall protection, such as safety nets. Further, any commercial job would likely be governed by plans and specifications prescribing safe working conditions and incorporating by reference to the applicable OSHA regulations. Compliance with those regulations would be part of the performance obligations under the contract. I respectfully oppose the amendment.
Is there further discussion? Does the gentleman wish to close? Senior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I respectfully ask that we adopt this amendment. I've had numerous phone calls from painting contractors, commercial contractors, and other parts of the business industry, associations that want the commercial painting contractors to be included into the specialty contracting part of the license. Also, I've had the licensing board to contact me that they, that is how they track contractors that what we would consider that perform substantial, not substantial, but work that is substantial, and to be able to track them, and Mr. President, without having them having a license number, there would be no way for the licensing board to be able to track them. And so, Mr. President, I urge passage of the amendment. Thank you.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment to the amendment offered by the senior senator from the 8th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The noes appear to have it. The noes do have it. I declare the amendment to the amendment rejected. Are there further amendments to the amendment?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading. Excuse me. Is there further discussion on the amendment as amended? If not, the question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment as offered by the Committee on Government Organization as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment to the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2009 relating to limitations on the use of wages and agency shop fees by employers and labor organizations for political activities. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on the Judiciary moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the committee amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee amendment is a strike and insert amendment for the entire House bill. It would make a number of changes in the code. It would add a new section in Chapter 7, Article 5, which relates to the fiscal affairs of county government. It amends a section in Chapter 8, Article 5, at Section 12, which is the compensation of officers and employees of municipal corporations. It would amend a section in Chapter 12, Article 3, which is Section 13B, and that relates to deductions by the state auditor from salaries of employees. The strike and insert amendment would amend a section in Chapter 18A, Article 4, which relates to salaries, wages, and other benefits of school personnel. The strike and insert amendment would amend a section in Chapter 21, a couple sections in Chapter 21, Article 5, which is the State Wage Payment and Collection Act. And the sections amended are Section 1 and I believe Section 3. Sections 1 and 3 in the Wage Payment and Collection Act. The strike and insert amendment would also amend one section in the Consumer Credit Protection Act, Chapter 46A, Article 2, Section 116. The strike and insert amendment, Mr. President, adopts the position that as to public employees, it is inappropriate to have the fiscal officers who are in charge of their payrolls serve as the collection agencies for various organizations, clubs. The statute, the strike and insert amendment throughout the sections amended proscribes the deductions or assignments of earnings for union, labor organization, or club dues or fees from the compensation of public employees. And that's what it does in all cases. Mr. President, I'm aware that there are a couple of amendments to the amendment, to the committee amendment, but before we get to that, I would be happy to try to answer questions regarding the committee amendment itself, and I urge its adoption.
The clerk has an amendment to the amendment.
Senator Trump moved to amend the Judiciary Committee amendment on page 2, section 12.
Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read, and to the extent that it is crafted as multiple amendments, I ask that they all be considered as one.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're addressing a couple things in this floor amendment to the committee amendment. One of the things we learned in committee, and I'll confess, Mr. President, on the floor of the Senate, I'm embarrassed that I did not know this, but we learned it, I learned it, as a result of questions that were being asked by my distinguished colleague from Marion County. And as we considered the committee amendment, the senator from Marion posed the question, well, what effect would this have with respect to collective bargaining agreements that exist between, I think his specific question was City of Fairmont, and employee groups? And as I said, I was unaware that such collective bargaining agreements exist. But, Mr. President, indeed they do. There are municipalities in the state that have collective bargaining agreements with some sets of their respective employees. So this amendment is designed to address that by making it clear that the bill would not interfere with any existing collective bargaining agreements between municipalities and their employees. And in fact, we cannot. Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution prohibits a state from interfering or impairing, is the actual language in the Constitution, impairing the obligation of any contracts. So that's what this amendment does in one part. And it says, I'll just read it if I may, it's fairly brief. Provided that for a public employee other than a municipal employee covered by a collective bargaining agreement with a municipality which is in effect on July 1, 2021, the term deductions shall not include any amount for union, labor organization, or club dues or fees. So this amendment, the floor amendment, does one other thing, and it attempts to, it will sync up and conform one of the sections, maybe two of the sections in the bill with the provisions of Senate Bill 5. Was it 5? I'm sorry, Senate Bill 272, which was previously passed by this body and maybe has now had complete legislative action in both houses. But this bill has within it a section that was amended in that bill, and what we're doing here in the other part of this floor amendment is making sure that the section as we amend it here will match that same section, the language in it, when we passed Senate Bill 272. Be happy to try to answer any questions. Otherwise, I urge the adoption of the amendment to the committee amendment.
Is there discussion? If not, question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment to the amendment offered by the senator from Morgan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment to the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the amendment?
Yes, sir. Senator Romano moved to amend the Judiciary Committee amendment on page 1, section 25.
Senator from Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that I be permitted to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senator from Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment is very simple. It allows for the continuation of the collection of non-political dues by the payroll departments of the various entities that are affected by this. This amendment is quite simple. It simply adds in the exception. The important thing to remember is these dues that will be collected have nothing to do with campaigns, with issues, with winning and losing at election time. It simply permits the collection of operating dues by our public employees. I urge passage of the amendment and reserve the right to respond, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Is there discussion? Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Respectfully, I rise in opposition to the senator's amendment. The amendment would narrow considerably the scope of this bill. No question about that. I will agree with him that it is a fairly simple amendment, at least on its face. I'm not sure that in its application and operation it ends up being so simple, but it would alter considerably what the committee did in adopting and recommending to this body the committee amendment. As I mentioned earlier, the committee amendment stands for the proposition, and we actually say it, the committee amendment says it, that every citizen of West Virginia, public employee, etc., enjoys the right, Mr. President, to belong to whatever group or organization he or she wants to belong to. That could be a union or a labor organization. It could be a health club. It could be the country club. It could be the Kiwanis Club or a Rotary Club. This committee amendment stands for the proposition that it is an unwarranted use of public resources to have the state or the county or the school board or the municipal government become the collection agent for all these various organizations. As we've talked about here on the floor with respect to other legislation, you know, we have the technology now. It's so simple that if somebody wants to belong to such an organization, as is his or her right, and we recognize the right in the statute. I'll read it. Nothing in this chapter shall be construed to interfere with the right of an employee to join or become a member of, contribute to, donate to, or pay dues or fees to a union, a labor organization, or club. Everybody has that right. But what they don't have a right, Mr. President, to do is have the taxpayers subsidize their belonging, their dues paying. And as we've discussed before, it's so easy now.
anybody can set up on his or her checking account at a bank or a financial institution an automatic withdrawal that happens monthly or quarterly or annually. People have subscriptions to all sorts of things that roll up every month on their monthly credit card statements. That's the appropriate way to do this, Mr. President, not to have the state, the county, the municipality, the school board use its taxpayer dollars, its resources to facilitate and become the collection agent for all these various organizations. The amendment offered by the senator from Harrison would expand the committee amendment or narrow its function, I guess narrow would be the way to put it, and prescribe only PAC contributions, political dues or fees. The committee's amendment reflects the view that the proscription should be broader than that, that it's not fair to the taxpayers to have the fiscal officers of all these various levels of government become collection agents for every organization or club that their employees may wish to belong to. I would urge rejection of the senator's amendment.
Is there further discussion? Senator Harrison, Senator from Harrison to close.
Will the senator from Oregon yield?
Will the senator from Oregon yield? The senator yields.
Certainly. Senator, this particular committee amendment that you've moved today was actually opposed by a bipartisan group of committee members. Do you remember that? I think we had a division vote on it, and I don't remember. I think it was, I think we had 9 ayes and 6 nays or something like that, but I don't remember the exact vote or who the particular members of the committee were who voted on that side of the question. Fair enough, fair enough. And you just passed an amendment that, understanding you said it was constitutionally mandated, but we just made an exception for public employees that are subject to collective bargaining agreements, correct? Yes, because we are prohibited under Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution from interfering with or impairing the obligation of an existing contract. And that's why I threw that in, that first part, because you indicated it was constitutionally mandated, and it likely is, but certainly it will continue on in future contracts, that particular fee deduction. But let me ask you this, Mr. Chairman. When the bill came over from the House, it permitted both political and non-political dues to be collected by our Board of Education fiscal agents. And when we say collected, they're really not collection agents. They're just simply making the deduction from the employee's wages and then turning it over in bulk to the, in this case, the Teachers Association, correct? The Senator is absolutely correct. The bill that came to us from the House, I think, did not make any changes in current law with respect to what may or may not be deducted from an employee's wages. What the House bill did, at least in my memory of it, and I probably have a copy of it here, but I think what the House bill did was required that an employee consent in writing once a year. That's correct. Thank you, Mr. To continue that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, appropriate time when if there's no further comments on my amendment, I'll be glad to stand and rebut.
Further discussion. Senator from Harrison to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Doesn't appear that there's anything else for or against. And, you know, I just want to stand and say, look, you know, I understand what the majority's point is here. And, you know, the House bill was actually an okay correction of this, making everybody sign up, you know, once a year for their deductions. As a former county commissioner, I can tell you we have dozens of these deductions. The only thing that limits our ability to do these deductions is how many boxes we have on the pay stubs. And it's the same with the boards of education. We didn't receive any complaints from any Board of Education or any fiscal agent that this was costing them money, because it's really just a function of computers. I mean, it's a function of deductions and then sweeping the account and putting it into whoever's account you're collecting for. Here I have a simple exception that allows for the deduction of regular dues. And these dues have nothing to do with politics, and that's what the majority should think about. It allows for all of the functions of the association which we allow for now collective bargaining public employees and a host of other benefits that people get, such as, you know, cancer insurance, and I'm trying to think of some of the other deductions we did in the counties. There's a whole bunch of them. But, you know, the associations do a lot more than just collect monies to go out and argue their political positions. They provide liability insurance protection for their members through the dues they collect. They help their members with certification issues, which are so important these days in getting certified teachers into their positions. They help with national board certifications, which again improves the education of our children as a service not provided regularly by any of our state agencies. They help with retirement issues for our teachers, which is important. They help provide home, car, and life insurance at discounted rates. And they help with charitable deductions and discounted graduate classes for our educators. Those are all important endeavors, none of which have to do with elections. And this amendment allows us to continue to do what's been going on for decades, the collection of association dues. It accomplishes the majority goal. It gets money out of politics, which we should be doing both at the federal and the state level. It just allows for the collection of regular dues and gets us in line with the House bill, making it more likely that they'll concur with the bill that we pass out of this Senate and something will get done. We send them back this bill, there's a good chance nothing passes. Let's face facts. A vote against this amendment kills the teachers' associations, something that's provided a voice for our educators. Whether we agree or disagree, Democrat or Republican, it's coming for us and been against all of us. And that's okay, because they need to have a voice. It's the only way that they'll survive. The senator from Morgan's correct that there's other ways to collect dues, but we all know that it will not be as efficient, and it will certainly permit a whole bunch of people to participate in the benefits without paying for those benefits. I urge passage of the amendment.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment to the amendment offered by the senator from Harrison. Roll call has been demanded. Is demand sustained? The demand is sustained. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? On this question, 14 yeas, 20 nays, 0 absent and not voting. A majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, or having voted in opposition, I declare the amendment rejected. Are there further amendments to the amendment?
No, sir.
Is there a further discussion on the amendment offered by the Committee on the Judiciary as amended? If not, the question before the Senate is the adoption of the amendment offered by the Committee on the Judiciary as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment as amended adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading. Bills on first reading. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered read a first time and advanced to second reading.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Introduction of guest. Remarks by members. Senator from Boone.
Mr. President, I put on your all's desk a letter from Boyd Dotson from up in Cowan having to do with SJR 9. Has to do with the totally disabled West Virginia veterans and the relief of their ad valorem property taxes. Several states around have done this, and I'm calling this is a bipartisan approach to honor our veterans. And I'm sure it'll go through the Judiciary Committee and Finance. To my understanding, it's not going to cost a whole lot of money to do this, and certainly urge the various chairmen to look at this SJR 9 and consider it for bringing it up and put it on the agenda. I appreciate it.
Junior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take a moment to thank Senator Manchin for his vote on the American Rescue Plan. To paraphrase our president, it's a big deal, and indeed it's a big deal to West Virginia. From that relief plan, West Virginia stands to receive $4 billion. $34 million will go to Kanawha County, $10 million will go to Putnam County. And it's significant because, as I understand it, and according to the Gazette-Mail over the weekend, after our counties and cities are able to pay off their COVID relief debt, those monies will be used for infrastructure. It'll go to broadband, water, and sewer. In fact, the mayor of Clendenin, Mayor Summers, who was quoted in the paper over the weekend, said this: Clendenin will receive $460,000 into its account. The city can finally fully heal while also working toward a prosperous future. A thought not all that possible just a few weeks ago. The only surprising thing about this plan is Senator Manchin was the only member of our delegation to vote for it, despite the fact that West Virginia will reap rewards. This plan also cuts child poverty in half, something that we discuss on the floor of this body, but have yet to see a piece of legislation tackled. It'll stabilize the pension funds, the promise of pension funds to union members for the next 30 years. It'll provide millions of dollars for our overworked daycares and programs like Head Start, the frontline workers not always thought of, but have been available and worked hard over the last year. It's no surprise then that upon passage of this piece of legislation, the Dow went above 32,000 for the first time in its history. So again, I thank Senator Manchin for his vote. Thank you.
Further remarks by members. Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the same subject, or same general subject, someone mentioned to me, a CPA with whom I have a relationship while I was home over the weekend, mentioned to me, one of the first things that one of the first bills, or first couple bills we pass here every session, and we've done it this year, is a bill that conforms our tax code to the IRS code in place at the time of the passage of the bill. This person, the CPA that I talked to over the weekend, mentioned to me, said, Charles, the recent act of Congress is the first time I can remember when the Congress altered the tax rules for a previous tax year in legislation. And so this is not about whether it contains good ideas or bad ideas, but his point to me and mine to the body is that we may need to look at the legislation we've already passed to see if we need to do it again and adopt, because the federal tax code was changed in some respects in this recent legislation. For instance, I'm told that, and I haven't read the act of Congress, but I'm told the act of Congress excludes from income the first $10,000 of unemployment benefits. I believe that the bills we passed in advance of the act of Congress to conform our law to the federal tax code do not do that, and would not do that unless we react to adopt the tax code as it's now been modified by the Congress. Policy question as to whether or not the legislature wants to do it or should do it, but it's something we should be aware of, because I think there'll be consequences if we do or don't, given that the Congress has amended the tax code for 2020 in the bill they just passed. That's all, Mr. President.
Further remarks? Miscellaneous business. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subject to announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at 3 o'clock p.m. in Judiciary Committee Room 208 in the West Wing.
Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Finance will meet today at 3 p.m. in room 451M.
Further announcements. Senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in room 451M.
Senator from Brooke.
Mr. President, just a reminder that the members of the Republican caucus will be caucusing immediately following the floor session today in room 330 West. Thank you.
Senator from Wetzel. Excuse me. Senator from Wood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Insurance will not meet today.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the Senate is the Senate stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned.
Hello, everyone. It's Monday, March the 15th. I'm sorry I'm late getting here. I've been with, all just leadership of the House and just doing a whole bunch of other things and everything. Just couldn't get here. I'm sorry. As far as the deaths, since last Friday, we've had 20 additional deaths. The number still is trending the right way, which is really good. But at the same time, it's 20 great West Virginians that we've lost. Please join in prayer and everything as I read through these people's, their gender and their location and their age, and just know that we can never, ever, ever let these families become let these people just become a number. The 2,512th death is an 81-year-old female from Marion County. The 2,513th death, a 58-year-old male from Marion County. The 2,514th death, a 75-year-old female from Putnam County. The 2,515th death, a 94-year-old female from Marion County. The 2,516th death, a 54-year-old male from Berkeley County. The 2,517th death, a 79-year-old female from Ohio County. The 2,518th death, an 87-year-old female from Marshall County. The 2,519th death, a 93-year-old male from Hancock County. The 2,520th death, an 87-year-old female from Wyoming County. The 2,521st death, a 74-year-old male from Logan County. The 2,522nd death, a 65-year-old female from Brooke County. The 2,523rd death, a 65-year-old female from Kanawha County. The 2,524th death, an 89-year-old female from Ohio County. The 2,525th death, an 80-year-old male from Kanawha County. The 2,526th death, an 84-year-old male from Mercer County. The 2,527th death, a 75-year-old male from Raleigh County. The 2,528th death, an 84-year-old female from Marion County. The 2,529th death, a 54-year-old female from Raleigh County. The 2,530th death, a 74-year-old male from Mercer County. And the 2,531st death is a 97-year-old male from Kanawha County. Again, these families are hurting. Their loved ones are hurting. We've lost a ton more wisdom in the state of West Virginia. Your prayers for these great 20 West Virginians, as well as all those in a grand total of 2,531 West Virginians, is absolutely sorely needed and greatly appreciated. So thank you a bunch. As far as our numbers go, we've had 210 new positive cases in the last 24 hours. We didn't test that many people. Our daily positivity rate is at 5.48. Our cumulative positive still continues to fall at 5.33. The active cases in the state of West Virginia now are down to 5,214. That's 56 straight days that we have dropped and dropped and dropped in our active cases. You know, from, you know, and I'm looking for our recovered cases, that's 127,933. Actually, our active cases did bump up just a little bit on Saturday, so we broke the string of dropped days consecutively, but we still are at 56 total drop days. You know, our active cases in West Virginia, again, are at 5,214, but at one time they were 29,257 in early January. And they're down in cases by 82% since that time. And we have only 151 that are hospitalized now and 50 in the ICU units, and we do not have any red counties. I remind you again, if you're 65 years of age, you know, absolutely go get tested if you have any symptoms anyway, feel uncomfortable, sniffles, you know, cold, you know, fever, tired, anything, go get tested. If you by chance you would be tested positive, absolutely we can give you these antibodies that will save your life. And if by chance you were tested, you were over 65 and your doc said, no, we can't get those antibodies or whatever like that, you call us, because that's not true. The vaccine success, since we have begun the vaccine efforts, we have seen a reduction in the weekly deaths of over 80%. We all know that. We have seen an incredible reduction in hospitalizations to under 200. We're at 151 today. By the end of this week, we will have vaccinated all West Virginia school employees over the age of 50 that wanted a vaccine. And we're also vaccinating, you know, school employees from 40 to 50 years of age, and we should clean up all school employees, you know, very soon. As of today, we have vaccinated 58% of the people that are over 65 years of age. Our goal is to get that to 75%, but really and truly, what we need is 75% of all those over 50, but really we need to have that even higher. Again, I keep telling you over and over and over, West Virginia. You know, I did a show just a little while ago, The Hill, a Washington, D.C. show. And one of the questions from you know, the lady or the man that was there, you know, asked me, said, really and truly, don't you see that most, you know, not most, but more Republicans than Democrats are refusing to take the vaccine? That's bad. Then don't you see that in the state of West Virginia, really and truly, you've had amazing success. However, we anticipated in the state of West Virginia, if any place on earth that people would be reluctant to take vaccines, it was in West Virginia. In other words, you know, don't you realize that you're supposed to be, you know, a state that is more backward, you know, than other states, and so therefore you would have more people that wouldn't be taking the vaccines, a higher percentage? Well, we're not more backward. We're not. And I have come in front of you over and over and over and said, take the vaccine. Tell me somebody somewhere that's having an absolute catastrophe, you know, in regard to taking the vaccine. That's hard to do, really hard to do. Absolutely, I can tell you, if you don't take the vaccine, there's still a strong likelihood you're going to get this disease. And if you do, and you're older than 65 or older than 50, you're going to have a real problem, a real problem. Every day I read all kinds of people, additional people, and not one of them, I will promise you, not one of them thought, I'm going to get this disease and I'm going to die. But they do, and you could too. You need absolutely to get this vaccine. And if you can't go online, call us. If you can't get pre-registered, call us, and we'll help you, because we want you to have the opportunity to take this vaccine. You won't grow antlers. Absolutely, I promise with all in me that, you know, to the very best of all my abilities, it is so safe, it is off the chart, and it'll save your life. From the vaccine distribution update, we're at 96% of our first and second doses, continuing to lead the nation in every way. We have a total number of doses that we've put in the arms of West Virginians of 635,801 doses. It is amazing beyond belief. Totally, totally unbelievable. And it's a great, great, great success story by all of our health people, all of our, you know, medical professionals and experts, all the National Guard, all those at the community level and the clinics, the health clinics. It is an amazing story, and that's great stuff. Today, I'm announcing again that we are now expanding our list for pre-existing medical conditions to be eligible to receive the COVID vaccine. All adult West Virginians over 16 years of age will be eligible. All adults over the age of 16 will be eligible to receive the vaccine with the following new pre-existing medical conditions that you'll see on our screen. So if you've got any of these things and you're older than 16, you're moving right up to be able to get your vaccine. Dr. Marshall explained more about this, and we're also going to begin vaccinating essential workers of all ages. We still encourage all West Virginians to pre-register through our system, but if you can't and you're having trouble and everything getting, you know, just call us and we'll make it all become a reality. You know, President Biden said last week that he wants all Americans to be eligible to receive a vaccine by May the 1st, and we're confident we're going to be ready to be able to pull that off here in West Virginia. And so we're on the glide slope here. All we need you to do is join us in every way to being able to get vaccinated, and we're on the glide slope to being able to get our lives back to normal, and that's what we want more than anything. The vaccine scheduling system is up. You know, the counties that are absolutely lagging a little bit behind are Lincoln, Ritchie, Wood, Mercer, Upshur, McDowell, Mineral, Jefferson, Wayne, Jackson, Clay, Gilmer, Calhoun, Hampshire, Berkeley, Morgan, Mingo, and Mason County. Big list. We got about half our counties, or maybe 2/3 of our counties, that are kicking butt and really leading us in regard to this, you know, getting registered and everything, and about 1/3, or maybe even approaching half, are still lagging behind, and we need you to really get after it here in every way. We've pre-registered now 381,000 West Virginians, and that's great, but it needs to be a lot higher. From the standpoint of saving our wisdoms, clinics, we're out in all 55 counties. We continue to put as far as the priority. I'll make it easier on myself and everything. But as far as the priority, we're still going with 65 and older, but 50 and older can register, and we'll get you in the system and get your shots. There's some people out there that are still 65 and older, and they're saying, well, what about me? You haven't gotten me yet and everything. Well, we want to get you. We want to get you so badly and everything. If you'll just get in touch with us and everything, we're trying every way in the world to keep you in the front of the line. Now, so far in the state of West Virginia, just imagine this, where we started back in January. And January seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? But some 6 or 7 weeks ago, we had a feeling of hopelessness all across our elderly people. And we absolutely dropped a hammer and said, we're going to go age, and we're going to get shots in the arms of people that are 65 years of age and older. We started with 80, and we dropped all the way down to 65. Now we dropped to 50. But so far, we have put shots in people's arm. 213,009 individuals have gotten shots that are 65 years of age and older. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and you mark it down, a bunch of those people would have died. And so, absolutely, this has been a great, great, great accomplishment from West Virginia and all the people that made it happen. I'm really, really proud of you. You know, from the standpoint of our vaccine info line, you see all that up there, vaccine reminders again, you know, keep wearing your mask, and you absolutely, we're so close to getting rid of the mask too. It's just a little while in front of us and everything. Let's don't get in too big a hurry and mess something up here. As far as getting tested and all the free testing map, you ought to see it up there. It's all ready to go. You know, from the standpoint of the drive-through pharmacy testing, again, we thank Walgreens and Frith for all that they've done. It's been phenomenal. We're down to 3 outbreaks in our long-term care facilities. It's amazing, absolutely unbelievable. We have 3 outbreaks in our church community in Monongahela, Raleigh, and Nicholas counties. We got to clean that up and everything. We want that to be 0. Please get that to be 0. I would absolutely just eagerly announce that. You know, at corrections, get this, we were 250 or whatever the other day. We're down to 34 inmate cases and 10 staff. I commend corrections beyond belief. What a job they've done. What an incredible, incredible job. We could have had disaster after disaster at our correctional facilities. It's not happened. We've lost I think 5 people at our corrections facilities, and that's amazing. It is really, truly, truly an incredible job. As far as our guidelines, they're up and everything, you know, but I want to read this. All businesses must continue to follow all safety guidelines. Also, our mandatory indoor face covering requirement is still in effect. You still got to wear a mask. In a public building, you know, wear your mask. I announced several restrictions that we lessened on our small businesses, schools, and public gatherings a few weeks ago. They're up, and they're posted on my website. As far as the face covering requirement, like I said, it's still in force. I don't like it. I can't stand these crazy masks and everything, just like you can't. But at the same time, I truly believe that being, you know, penny wise and pound poor is not the way to go. You know, absolutely, we need to hold on to these masks just for a little bit longer. As far as giving blood and plasma, I encourage you with all my soul, do so. You can save a life. You know, to be the way I feel about this whole thing, if you've gotten COVID and you've recovered, you owe something. You owe something. And if you can do this, do it. Please do it. As far as workforce, the American Rescue Plan, which is the stimulus plan that President Biden extended unemployment benefits for Americans through September the 4th. Workforce is working with the U.S. Department of Labor on specific guidance to implement the unemployment provisions under the American Rescue Plan, under the new stimulus plan. If you are currently receiving unemployment, you will need to continue filling out your weekly certifications. Workforce has programmed their system to enable people to continue certifying, so there are no gaps in benefits once the guidelines are finalized. To ensure a seamless transaction and make sure there are no gaps in benefit payments, Workforce asked the Department of Labor and Employment for approval to deploy the extended programs before receiving official guidance from the Department of Labor. When Workforce has more guidelines, we'll let you know. I don't know how it can be more clear than just that. But we're happy with the additional dollars. I hate like crazy. We probably threw away a lot of money, but at the same time, I'm still a believer, go big, and get this thing behind us. America needs to be back at work. Our businesses need to be thriving. This is exactly where we need to go. And West Virginia's led the way in a lot of ways. We need to continue to do so. That's all I got right now. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Governor. Let's now go to Dr. Clay Marsh, our coronavirus czar.
Well, good afternoon, and consistent with what the governor suggested is that we continue to work to expand eligibility for our citizens. And as we look at getting allocations of more vaccine into West Virginia, we know, as the governor said, that the discipline of our approach related to getting first shots and second shots in arms of our nursing home residents, which we're the first in the country, and our targeting our elders, our Save Our Wisdom campaign, as the governor said, has been very, very effective in reducing our weekly death rates over time to over 80%, as the governor said, and also reducing our hospitalizations dramatically from over 800 to now less than 200. So as we look at the additional groups that we know through Centers for Disease Control have higher risk of both dying and getting hospitalized with COVID-19, we have extended that list. And Jordan, I don't know if you have the slide you could put up. That's great. I can't read that, but I do have the additional list on my screen. We will extend this to West Virginians 16 and over for the Pfizer vaccine and 18 and over for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines who have the pre-existing diagnoses of asthma, diabetes mellitus, chronic kidney disease, heart disease, immunosuppression, lung fibrosis, chronic obstructive lung disease, blood disorders, liver disease, neurological disorder, high blood pressure, and chronic infections with diseases like HIV. In addition, as the governor said, we will extend the eligibility to all essential workers, irrespective of age, given their frontline status and helping make sure that we keep our businesses open, keep our hospitals and clinics open, keep our utilities working, and perform the other vital services and functions that are so important to West Virginia in schools and business. So that will be in all ages. And as we go forward, as President Biden has asked us to commit to have vaccines available for all Americans by May 1st, we are committed, as the governor said, to follow that. This weekend, as the governor has instructed all of us to do, we keep in contact with national connections that we have developed. And we know in Europe, they're seeing the third wave of COVID-19, generally fueled by the United Kingdom variant of COVID-19. We know in West Virginia, we only have 4 identified cases so far of the United Kingdom variant, but in some states like New York and Florida and Texas, we're seeing growth in the United Kingdom variant. And we know that this variant is faster to infect people and may make people sicker. But we also know that this variant is absolutely taken care of by the vaccines that we are using. And therefore, despite opening up to more people, which is fantastic because all the people that we've included are at higher risk to get seriously ill or die from their infection, we also want to make sure we maintain our discipline and we are taking care of our elders first and the people in our medical illness categories that we know have increased risk of dying and being hospitalized. So while we open up, we appreciate the patience of each West Virginian who is now eligible. We want you to get vaccinated. We want to protect you. We want to protect all of West Virginia. So thank you for what you're doing. Keep wearing your mask, stay physically distanced as people are getting vaccinated. But I think through the leadership of the governor and the commitment to make sure that we are opening West Virginia carefully, but maintaining our vigilance and our good behaviors as we are all getting vaccinated. That's the way that we're going to see this through and help West Virginia continue to be a beacon for the rest of our country. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Marsh. Next to the Director of the Joint Interagency Task Force, retired Major General Jim Hoyer.
Good afternoon. As the governor pointed out, we had another strong week with vaccine administration. We did achieve over 100% again in the first doses. We still have a couple of counties that we're working through second doses and scheduling related to the previous weather events, but those are moving forward this week. We continue to open up additional pathways to access vaccines. We'll work our second clinic this week with VOAD, Council of Churches, several other denominations, as well as the Benedum Foundation. That is primarily focused on grandparents, the Healthy Grandparent Program, and those grandparents who are primary care providers for some of our young adults or young children. We'll also be targeting some of our minority population through that event as well. In addition to that, we're working mobile clinics for our essential workers and are working with a number of manufacturing sites as well as folks within a variety of other industries such as the coal industry. We're also working a pilot project with WVU Medicine in the Eastern Panhandle and Shenandoah Clinic to work on access through primary care providers. The concept there is we know we still have people who have not registered on the central list, but may be more inclined to take the vaccine if they receive an outreach from their primary care provider or other doctors that service their medical needs. So we'll continue to work that as well. Another issue that we're working this week is to work with the White House office as well as the Veterans Administration to try to get a solid number from the VA on the number of West Virginians veterans who have been vaccinated through the VA system directly. So we'll continue to work all these efforts and continue to move forward as quickly as we can to get to more of our West Virginia population. Today, we are at 58% of our population over the age of 65, moving rapidly forward, and the governor continues to press us on that and the over 50 population, which we know make up the bulk of our hospitalizations and our deaths. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next to Dr. Aina Amjad, our State Health Officer.
Good afternoon. We are seeing a generalized trend of decreasing cases. However, we do know that spring break is coming, and we do know a lot of people are looking forward to traveling. We do want to encourage people, whether you're going to any parks or anything nearby, that we do want you to still use safety measures and practice social distancing. Also, if you're planning on traveling out of state, a lot of states have lifted their mask mandates. However, we do encourage you to wear your masks and follow these safety measures. Also, to utilize our testing that we do have available in our state. We have seen decreased numbers in our state right now. However, we are seeing some cases. So if you're having any symptoms of a sore throat or sinus symptoms, that to utilize our testing that we have available, it is still free, and we encourage you to utilize that as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amjad. Secretary Bill Crouch with the DHHR is also joining us today and is available for questions. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first today from Kenny Bass with WCHS and Fox 11.
Hi, a quick two-part question for you today, if possible. There was a clinic over the weekend in Putnam County, I believe. Church hosted it, and anecdotal reports of very young people, some as young as 21, receiving shots. I know that you have a policy to get shots in arms. Is that what happened in this instance? Because with so many West Virginians 65 and older still not receiving a shot, that can damage your efforts, at least in some eyes, if they're still not getting shots, but younger people are. So if you could fill us in on what happened there, I would appreciate it. And secondly, I keep hearing you guys say, if you're 65 and older and you've been on this list for 3 weeks, call us if you haven't received any contact for an appointment. My question is, why don't we approach this from the other way around? You have the Everbridge system. You know who's 65 and older, and you know how long they've been on the list. Why aren't we proactively reaching out to people to call them more in a specified and focused effort? If Secretary Crouch could answer this for me, exactly how many West Virginians 65 and older are still in the Everbridge system, and they have not yet been contacted? Thank you.
Okay, General, you got to do the first part of the question, and Secretary Kraus the back part.
Yes, sir, Governor. So, Kenny, without the specific of the individual, there was a clinic that was held in Putnam County at the Taze Valley Baptist Church. It was part of the clinic run by Fruth Pharmacy, under the federal pharmacy program. My guess is that the individual could have received the vaccine for a couple of different reasons. They could have fallen into one of those health categories. It could have been an individual who was an essential worker. They did also do some service personnel from the county, and they had 115, I believe, extra doses they reported that they were able to pull out of the vials that they received, and they had less people show up for the clinics than they may have given those and opened those up to other individuals, doing what they should have done, which was put shots in arms. So without the specifics, that would be my best answer to that. So, Governor, I'll turn it to Bill.
Yes, Kenny, thank you. That's a great question. Let me first say that the lists that are being pulled down now are being pulled down by county. So every county pulls their own list down of individuals. We have pushed out information asking that the poll be done in priority in terms of African Americans and minorities over age 65, individuals over 80, then individuals over 70, then individuals 65 and over. We don't have this morning's data summed. I did get that by county this morning, but the total as of, I believe it was Friday, is we had a little over 7,000 people, so actually 7,700 people over age 80 still in the system, and that system changes every day. We're now averaging about 3,600 individuals a day that are going into the system. To give you that specifically, in January, we had 14,000 people a day registering in Everbridge. In February, that dropped to 4,052 individuals a day. And March to date, we have 3,698 individuals registering in Everbridge a day. So the numbers fluctuate as people are pulled off of the list and people are added to the list. So we had 7,700 age 80 and over. And that's why the governor talks about in some counties, please get additional folks to register into the system. Age 70 and over, we had 27,500 individuals still in the system. And 65 and over, we had 22,000 individuals. So we're asking counties to pull these lists down by age and make that the priority in immunizing folks. We have some counties that don't have very many folks in that age group to pull down. So please, everyone, register into the system. We're trying to push that population as hard as we can. It's a great question, Kenny, and we can't get that message out enough to do that. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Next to Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Governor, have you made any decisions yet as to how the state will use its share of funding from the latest stimulus package? I know we're supposed to get $1.25 billion again. Do you know what buckets this will be put into this time around? Thank you.
Charles, it's just too early, and you know we're still trying to read the bill and work through all those things. And when we get a little closer and everything, we'll give you as much give you all the information that we have.
All right, thank you, Charles. Next to Mark Curtis with Nexstar Media.
I'm going to probably direct this to the doctors. Given all the new conditions, medical conditions that will now qualify somebody to get vaccinated sooner, is the Everbridge system going to be adopted so that you can check multiple boxes? I think when I did it, they listed heart disease and lung disease and obesity and diabetes and a few others. But now you've got a really long list, and I'm wondering if a person goes on there and they have 7 or 8 different illnesses, will they get a priority over somebody who, say, checks only one box?
Yes, Bill. Secretary Kraus, please answer.
Yes, sir, Mark. Another good question. We looked at that and we tried to make sure that what was on Everbridge when we did the first list of underlying conditions matched that, closely matched that so that folks could check those off. We also recognize it's very difficult for physicians, local health officers, and others to make a decision with regard to priority based upon those underlying conditions, whether it's diabetes versus heart disease, versus cancer, someone who's had a stroke. That is a very difficult thing to do. What we've asked and stated to the folks at doing the clinics, the local health department, local health officers, those physicians, they need to make those decisions going forward. We don't really see a clear way to make that determination, but we're looking hard at how that's done and trying to make sure the folks that are highest risk get vaccinated first. So great question again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next to June Leffler with West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Hello, thank you for taking my question. As usual, I'm going to direct this to General Hoyer. So I am wondering about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. As far as our allotment that we're getting, what percentage or amount of that is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? And because it requires, very different means of storage and is just a one shot, I'm wondering if you all are trying to get that vaccine out to particular people.
General, please.
Yeah, so our first allotment of Johnson & Johnson was 15,500 doses. You make a great point. We are, while continuing to focus it on our target populations, we're looking at target populations where logistically it makes more sense to only do one shot as opposed to two shots. For example, some of our homebound population, some of our homeless population have already received the Johnson & Johnson doses. We're looking and working with some of our manufacturing sites because they believe that it's more logistically prudent for them to do one shot. We will be able to order again this week additional Johnson & Johnson doses, but we don't know at this point what our maximum cap for those will be. So should have more information later in the week as to how many more doses, but we do believe the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a good vaccine to be able to use to address some of those logistical challenges in certain populations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, June. Next to Paul Mullen with WCBC.
Good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon, panel. I want to go back to the 165 unreported deaths and see if we have found out any rhyme or reason as to why it occurred like that. Early on in the pandemic, we had heard off the record that there were more monies available if someone could be classified as a COVID patient or a COVID death. Is there anything to that? And is there anything to where maybe the hospitals and long-term care facilities would look back at cases like this and then reclassify them and then add them to your rolls? Thank you.
Dr. Amjad, I think it's you.
Hi, Paul. To answer you simply, no. This is simply a data issue that we are going back and doing some quality checks on. Data reporting and collection in this case is something different to what you're referring to. When someone passes away, we have to decide, did they pass away from a malignancy or from pneumonia, and that's up to a physician at the time. So when they're filling out a death certificate, that's up to Dr. Amjad or Dr. Marsh, how we're going to put that on a death certificate. And then our death reporting system, which is what we're referring to now with this current situation, which is happening across the country, as a matter of fact. So what you're referring to as far as payment goes and COVID-19 coding systems is a separate issue and is not what we're talking about right now. right now is simply the way we are, calculating COVID-19 deaths and death reporting, but that is not something that we're concerned with right now, if that answers your question.
Thank you, Paul. Governor, I'll turn it back to you to close up.
Well, let me just say just this. I never dreamed in a billion years that I'd sit here and tell you that things are better with 20 deaths over the weekend. They are better. We've been through some tough stuff. We're on the verge of what we hope and pray is going to be a rebound and get through the tough stuff. We need you to hang with us. Hang with us as tightly as you possibly can, as you've been all through the whole deal. And in doing so, we're going to continue to tell you the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all the time. And with all of that, we're going to expect and hope that you will pull the rope with us as you've already done. Now, West Virginia, I've known it all along. It's the very reason that I'm your governor. It's the very reason that you've honored me beyond belief. But all that is just one thing, and that's this. I've known all along just how good you are, just how great you are in every way. You're the best. You're the best. And we've shown the nation over and over that I'm right in knowing that you're the best. Now let's just keep it up, West Virginia. We're close to the finish line. There's so many opportunities and everything coming our way, and I hope and pray you'll continue to listen to me in regard to your personal income tax. While I've got you, I'm going to say just one thing, and it's just this. I'm going to say this comment to all the small businesses that are out there. What if I were to say to you just one thing? How much money do we spend as West Virginians on Christmas every year? We have 732,000 households in West Virginia. What's the average spend of a household? Now, most of the overwhelming majority of those households are not very many people in the house. The average is probably 2.15 people per house. So, how much money do we spend at Christmas? How much money is an average spend across all those households? Realistically, it's probably about $500. $500 about across all those households. What does that amount to? Here's what it amounts to, and stay with me just one second. It amounts to a little less than $400 million. So in other words, in West Virginia, we probably spend somewhere along the lines of $400 million. Now, I don't know exactly what it is, but if we spend $400 million a year in West Virginia at Christmas, what I'm trying to create for you is just this. Every single one of you will remain cash positive and have more money in your pockets. But I'm trying to create a situation, I'm talking to our small businesses. If you miss this and you're misinformed and you believe this is going to hurt you, you are making the worst mistake of all time. Just think about it. Think about how people buy things at Christmas. They probably buy more soda pop, they probably buy more cigarettes, they probably buy more guns, they probably buy more dresses, they buy more everything. Everything. Now, can you just imagine this and think, just think. Don't let people put in your heads these crazy ideas. Think, you own a dress shop. You own a dress shop. And in your community, all around you, everywhere, every single household as an average, some will get $300 and some will, or $350 and some will get, $3,000. But as an average, every single household will get $1,487. Now just think about it. You own a dress shop. Do you think people with $1,487 in every household are going to create a situation to where you sell more dresses? And if you don't do anything, you know where you're at right now. But all around you, everybody's got $1,487 additional dollars as an average. You know what's going to happen? You're going to have to scramble to have inventory. It's going to be the same thing at the convenient mart. It's going to be the same thing at Walmart. It's going to be the same thing at the gun shop. It's going to be the same thing at the car lots. It's going to be the same thing all across our state. And yet you've got people that are out there trying to convince you that it's going to hurt business in West Virginia. It's absolutely crazy. That's all there is to it. It is absolutely such a fallacy. It is unbelievable. Don't miss this opportunity, West Virginia. This opportunity will drive business here like you can't imagine, but what I have just explained to you is just this. This will create 2.5 more Christmas shopping seasons in West Virginia, and plus the one we already have, that's 3.5 Christmases in West Virginia a year forever. The stimulus isn't going to wear out. The stimulus isn't going to just dry up. I'm sorry, let me go back. The Biden stimulus will wear out and dry up, but not this stimulus. This stimulus will be every year, and it will only get greater as we get rid of the rest of the income tax. And it does not have one thing to do with people moving here. Now just think about what I've just said. This will stimulate our small businesses, and if you miss it, don't blame me. Absolutely, if you believe this is going to hurt small businesses, you're out of your mind. And let me go one step further. From the standpoint of our advertisers, you know, Mark Curtis is a great man, you know, on one of our television stations and does great work. He said to me, he said, you know, we're concerned because we have to sell advertising, and somebody that was, let's say, spending $10,000 a year with us advertising, it's now going to cost him $10,080 a year. I think that's right. You know, no, it's going to cost them $10,790. Okay? And for that additional monies, they may have decided, well, we want to cut back on our advertising. Now, Mark, I want you to really pay really close attention to what I'm getting ready to say. If there is $1,087 million out in the economy all over the place, how aggressive is that advertiser going to be to get some of that business? You're going to be bombarded with advertisers. Absolutely bombarded, because they're all going to be scrambling to get some of the $1,087 million that's out there. Same thing's going to happen to the dress shop. Same thing's going to happen to the accountants. Same thing's going to happen to the lawyers. It's going to be more business, more business, more business. And that is all without one single person moving here. Not a person. And in addition to that, they're going to flood into West Virginia with job opportunity, with higher wages, with raising our property values at our homes and everything else. If we miss this, it will just be unflat believable. Please, small businesses and people, don't let somebody influence you negatively. Learn it yourself to where you know it and know it yourself. A better economy, higher property values means better schools for the future, and on and on and on. It is your responsibility, West Virginians. I am trying in every way to educate and help you know it. Once you know it, you'll believe it just as much as me. But if you sit on the sidelines and you believe a bunch of naysayers, that are out there just throwing rocks for the sake of throwing rocks, this thing could absolutely just go up in flames. And if it does, don't blame me. The opportunity is unbelievable. Just think about the little gun shop or the convenient mart. Think about the convenient mart that's setting in Martinsburg. And all around the convenient mart, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have an average of $1,400. Do you really think they're going to just drive across the state lines and not come to the convenient mart because of 1.9% sales tax? Are you kidding me? Every single item, pop, tobacco, every single item, people will be buying like crazy. You know, we can't miss this one. This will be the miss of all time. Anyway, I wish you the very best, and with all that, I say absolutely please remember these great families. Of the 2,531 we've lost, and absolutely West Virginia is on a trajectory here that's great, and it's great without stimulus, but stimulus is coming on top of this, and it's great for the time being at where it is and with the stimulus. But remember just this, just one thing. We've proven how to be dead last. We've proven that our population is not growing. Absolutely, with all in us in West Virginia, we should be this type of state. We should be a type of state that surely is not discriminating against others and is an open arm, welcoming state that loves people, loves everyone. You know, all of us have our rights to choose whatever direction that we may choose to be. But absolutely, West Virginia needs to be all embracing, surely not discriminatory. Absolutely, with all in us, we have so many things at our fingertips to market and go forward. I have absolutely taken you way down the path, and you've really been right with me. I hope and pray you'll really, really listen. And as you listen, all I ask you to do is go learn what it's all about for yourself. You know, if you think that you can buy into the shallowness of the Chamber of Commerce, who's led us, I mean, just think about where the Chamber of Commerce has led West Virginia over the last 50 years. You know what they've done? They've led us to dead last, dead last, dead last. Now, all I ask you to do is just go learn about it. Go learn. Ask yourself that one question. If I'm the dress store and everybody around me has new discretionary money, am I going to sell more dresses or not? You're dadgum right you are. And for people to try to convince you as a small business owner that this is going to adversely affect you, they're crazy. They just plain don't know. Anyway, nevertheless, thank y'all so much. God bless all y'all and everything in every way. I could never be more proud than just who you are in West Virginia. You're the best of the best. Don't let anybody tell you you're not. Be good. Thank y'all.